Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to the NOLO Lawyer Directory's first webinar, an SEO chat with Jake Warner and Tim Stanley. I'm very excited about this event, and I hope you are too. We hope you will have a great experience, and will be able to apply the specific knowledge gained here at your business practice or your law firm. So after the presentation, we'll have 5 to 10 minutes to answer questions from the audience. You may send your question at any time during the presentation. We'll answer as many questions as possible today, but understand that given the limited amount of time, we won't be able to answer everyone's questions. People have asked about an archive, and yes, an archive will be available after the event. I'll send out a link for that next week. And in addition, the PowerPoint presentation will also be available as a PDF, and I will send that out as a link as well. So without further ado, let me hand it over to legal pioneer and advocate and the founder of NOLO, Jake Warner.
Thank you, Ramon. We're all here for at least one simple reason. An increasing number of people are grabbing the yellow pages from the front steps and tossing them straight into the recycling. And that's a big reason why I'm excited to have Tim Stanley here to talk about 21st century internet marketing. And I'm also excited to tell you that NOLO will celebrate its 40th anniversary in just 6 weeks, complete with lots of fanfare and publicity for NOLO.com and our lawyer directory. Not only did NOLO kick off the plain English law movement in 1971, but over the years we've remained the trusted leader, publishing over 20 million books and software solutions for ordinary Americans. But of more interest to this webinar, NOLO has successfully gone through its own transition from the traditional world of print to one where digital connectivity is everything. We began NOLO.com in 1994 and today enjoy over 7 million links, a sky-high Google page rank of 7, and about 1 million unique visitors each month. No question, the SEO and other internet-focused work we have done is a great benefit to every lawyer who is associated with us. A big part of NOLO's recent success has been its lawyer directory. With millions of Americans using NOLO.com to get free legal information to accomplish basic legal tasks, tens of thousands of them conclude that they also need the help of a lawyer and then find that lawyer via NOLO's lawyer directory. And because our books and software are in every public library in America, where many are on reserve and consulted dozens of times per week, many consumers read about NOLO's lawyer directory and then use a library computer to find a local lawyer, often within just a few miles of the library. Before I introduce Tim Stanley, who will explain how you can immediately improve your online marketing strategy, I want to very briefly tell you about the NOLO Law Office, an exciting new attorney-oriented platform we will launch next month. Via the NOLO Law Office, we will provide our lawyer directory members virtually all the information NOLO publishes. And although it would cost over $10,000 to buy these books, forms, and software individually, we will make them available to you free. That's free, as in free. Yes, this does include all the forms that are available at NOLO.com, promissory notes, non-disclosure agreements, state-specific leases, and many hundreds more, all of which will be available this December. And next year we will roll out access to over 150 of our books. For example, if you need practical information about bankruptcy or closure, you'll be able to download the full text of all 7 NOLO books that cover these areas. And again, that's free, as in free. Okay, let's move on to the meat of this webinar. My good friend Tim Stanley has worked for years in the field of free legal information. A graduate of Stanford and Michigan Law School, Tim, along with Stacy Stern and Martin Washheisen, founded FindLaw in 1995. And then after selling FindLaw to what is now Thomson Reuters, they founded Justia.com in 2003. You probably already use Justia for access to docket information in primary law, or for its lawyer directory or directory of legal blogs. But if not, check it out. And oh yes, I should mention that when you join NOLO's lawyer directory, you also get an enhanced membership in both Justia's and Cornell's directories. So without further ado, I'll turn this webinar over to Tim Stanley. Tim's presentation will last about 50 minutes, at which point take some questions.
Okay, thanks, Jake. Thanks, Ramon. And you guys let me know when to stop. Right, so I've got a relatively a lot of information to get through. I'll try to get through as much as possible, and I'll just sort of make things go. So let me just sort of give a broad overview of what I'm hoping to do here. I'm going to focus quite a bit on search engine optimization, to a large extent search engine optimization with Google, but also I want to talk a little bit about Bing, which is Microsoft's search engine, and a little bit how that sort of plays in with Facebook, which I think is actually becoming a larger player in terms of what you need to focus on from an optimization standpoint to get clients. After I do that, I'm going to run through some of the basics of what you need to do in terms of websites and blogs, also give you some free alternatives. So if you don't have a website or blog, there's a number of places you can actually get free ones if you'd like to. And then go into directories and talk about how directories and websites and blogs, to a certain extent, also tie in with other types of local searches, in particular with Google Places, which used to be Google Local or Google Maps. Because that, again, Google Local or Google Places is becoming a bigger thing right now, especially as people are using mobile devices like iPhones and Android phones quite a bit more. So I'll try to put it all together, and if you have questions, feel free to send them in, and I'll try to get to some here at the end. Let's keep it. First, let me give a sort of quick run through of some of the different things we're looking at. Websites are websites. I think a lot of people know what they are. You basically have your core information there about your firm, more or less marketing info. Blogs, in a way, for those who don't know what blogs are just like websites. As far as like Google and Bing, they're treated as websites the way they're indexed. But they're more or less websites where you're actually adding new pages or new posts sort of in a timely manner. So that the latest thing that you enter onto, the latest page that you add onto the blog website actually shows up on the top of the home page. Most of these are used for pushing out current information, but also for just discussing other things in terms of the practice of law. They do very well in the search engines because they're very easy to get linked up, and there's a lot of people that like to read blogs, and they're easy to sort of distribute out. Then we have lawyer directories, and we have Nolo, here's Avos directory, and Justia. Directories themselves, there's quite a few out there. There's also, obviously lawyers.com, Martindale, and FindLaw. Those, to a certain extent, are replacing the yellow pages. So you find them online. There are quite a few places. One of the key things with the directories themselves is that different ones show up for different searches. So you want to sort of do Google searches to see which ones show up and how well they're doing. But all the directories will sort of place some value and sort of help you with Google Places. So when Google's going through and trying to rank up their local listings in the Google search results, which I'll show just a bit, all these directories actually can help you there because it ties your address to your profile. And then there are a few of the other sort of social networks, LinkedIn and Facebook. Those are probably the two sort of main social networks in terms of having profiles. A lot of times, if you do name searches, you'll see these pages showing up. And LinkedIn, to a certain extent, is become sort of one of the sort of major professional communities. And Facebook, of course, is very dominant on the consumer area, but also is something which even lawyers and non-lawyers use a lot. So I would say that the overall usage of Facebook is much higher than LinkedIn. LinkedIn a little bit more on the business-to-business side, maybe more for corporate counsel types. And then, of course, all this sort of ties into Google. And as you can see here, let me put my thing, 1 second. Sorry, let me get this. And let's see if it does it. As you can see here, you're starting to see right now Google Local actually being tied into the organic search results. And that's a relatively new change. For a while they had sort of the Google Maps stuff at the top, but now it's really closely tied in. I will touch a bit on how organic results and Google Local tie in together, but beyond that, the directories also tie into Google Local. All right, so first just sort of a broader overview of the search engines. Over 90% of Americans have used search engines. 66% of the internet users say they use search engines at least a couple times a week. And 90% of the people say that they find what they're looking for on search engines. And of course, Google's the main one here, and this is from September 2010. Bing is taking over Yahoo. So how well you're doing in Bing is actually going to start influencing how well you're doing in Yahoo in terms of the organic search. Probably just as important, Bing has a relationship with Facebook. And while Facebook hasn't really focused on search itself that much so far, there's a lot of content on Facebook that is not indexable by Google. And I know the folks at Google think about that a lot, and people at Bing or Microsoft think about that a lot from different perspectives. So I would pay attention a little bit to how things are going with Bing in the next upcoming months, in particular how it relates to Facebook content. And I'll touch a little bit about what you should do on Facebook as we sort of go through these discussions. Then, if you sort of look through, the search results, this is like this is just a normal Google page. This is what people tend to see. So their eyes tend to focus to the upper left-hand part of the page, a little bit on the right-hand side. And what you want to do, if possible, is try to obviously move your organic listings up towards the top. And again, this is sort of the page results, just so you can see where people are looking at. Getting up into those core organic results, are very helpful. Of course, you can always buy a Google cost per click ads. Okay, so that's sort of a real broad overview of search engines, and one of the reasons they're important to folks in terms of what people are using, which definitely Google and Bing are the main two. The next part, I would say, is probably the most important part of this talk. If there's nothing else you get from this chat here, this part about getting good text is the most important. Everything else, you can do, you can pick up, but you really need to pay attention to this. And I've talked to many lawyers, as well as other folks doing search engine optimization, and they don't always pay attention to what they need to, which is on the text side. So, when Google's coming in and indexing you, or Bing's coming in and indexing you, they're looking at the content on your page. And if you want to do well for particular terms, I think it's obvious you need to have those words on your page. So, and that sort of makes sense. You go, okay, I want to do well for, Detroit criminal lawyer, I better have the word Detroit and criminal and lawyer on my page somewhere. One of the things that you're going to want to spend some time on is really studying what terms people are searching on and what terms are relevant to your practice. And I sort of divide these things up into three different groups. The first one is the locality. Is your practice focused on a particular state or the particular metro areas? Are there certain cities that you care about more than other cities? Counties. If you're doing criminal law or certain types of probate, counties actually get searched on quite a bit. And then sometimes you want to pick up smaller cities as well. Any particular page is hard to do well for everything, but one of the nice things about the web and about writing is that if you want to do well for a particular term or for a particular subject, you can always go ahead and write an additional page of content. So don't feel like you got to get everything down, all these different key terms onto 10 pages. Nothing keeps you from writing more and more content with each individual page focused on the particular terms that you care about. In addition to the localities, you want to take a look at some of the different practice terms, not just terms like, personal injury, but you would probably want to look at things like car accident, boat accident, truck accident. If you're doing medical malpractice, certainly medical malpractice would be one term, but birth injury. Birth injury, you probably also want to pick up things like cerebral palsy or Erb's palsy. You really need to sort of take your practice and break it down in terms of all the different little subtypes of cases that you'd like to get, and then write some content on those different areas. So it's something, it takes a little bit of time, but if you do it, it's extremely worthwhile, and it really produces dividends. And then there are the profession words. Lawyer, attorney, attorneys, lawyers, law firm. Again, those tend to be words that people search on when they're looking for a lawyer. And while it's great to do well, let's say, for the word car accident, it's really good to do well for the word car accident when they also add the word lawyer in there, because they type, car accident lawyer, or they type in Ann Arbor car accident lawyer, because that's a very specific search of someone who's now looking for an attorney or looking for a lawyer. So doing well for the key profession words really lead to people that land on your pages or land on your site and blog, they're actually interested in hiring an attorney.